Hello and welcome to another Gamertech PC build. My name's Tarl as always, and today we are doing something really special. This is a £5,000 PC. It's an epic gamer and it's going to crush productivity. We've got the 7950X3D, we've got an RX 7900 XTX graphics card, all of the RAM, all of the fans, massive PSU. Oh, and it's going up on the wall as well. That should be interesting. As you can see, these are all our components. We've got quite a lot here, and I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to get started with this build. So, let's go. I'm really excited about today's build. This is a big project for us. This is a commercial customer that came to us looking for a partner, a long-term partner that could help them with the roughly 100 PCs that they have on site, plus this first PC, which is a showstopper, the centerpiece for their gaming and editing center, and we've gone with something really special. So let's start by having a look at the components. What should we start with? Maybe this old thing, the 7950X3D, an absolute powerhouse. Getting this is a no-brainer if you're also looking at doing productivity on the AM5 platform. It's only about £20 more expensive than the regular 7950X, which is amazing. And you get 128 megabytes of L3 cache. So this is going to crush any game you throw at it. I mean, literally any game. But it's also got 16 cores and 32 threads, which means it's a productivity beast. So this is really an all singing, all dancing PC that we're building today. So the 7950X3D was really a no-brainer for us. This is really heavy. So we've got the RX 7900 XTX graphics card. So this is the TUF Gaming Edition from Asus. It's got 24 gigabytes of RAM, 2500 boost clock speed. It's got a 20 gigabytes per second bandwidth on the memory. It is fast. Now, some of you might be asking why we didn't choose a 4090 for this. There's a few good reasons. Firstly, this is less than half the price. It's got the same amount of RAM. It's just as quick. It's admittedly not quite as good, but at less than half the price, it is an absolute bargain if you're shopping at the high end. Also, some of you might know that there's a big shortage on the 4090s at the moment. You literally can't buy them. There are none of them available to buy through the channel as a business. Now, you might find the odd few out there at some of the retailers, but they're really expensive. We're talking £1,800 and more for a card that is really retails at £1,600. So the value proposition on this 7900 XTX is really good. Yes, it's not quite as good, it's not quite as fast, it's not as good at ray tracing as the 4090, and in terms of productivity, there are a few applications that utilize the 4090 better than the RX 7900 XTX. But like I said, the value proposition on this is wild. Less than half the price. But as well, we were trying to keep the budget under control. This is already a £5,000 build. If we went with the 4090, we're basically looking at a £6,000 build. So for our motherboard, we went with the ASROCK X670 Steel Legend. Really nice motherboard, well priced, does everything we need it to do. So again, going back to the customer brief, customer wants performance, that's for sure. They're going to be gaming, and they're going to be doing all sorts of productivity things like streaming, editing, rendering, you name it, they're going to be doing it. And it's going to be a real showpiece for the business, as there's going to be a lot of their customers coming through this gaming and editing area, and they want it to look the business. That's our motherboard. These are our SSDs. We went with two GAMMIX S70 blades, which are lightning fast, 7400 read speed, I think 6800 write speed, Gen 4, really fast, really well priced. These are a bargain. For our RAM, we've gone with 64 gigabytes of DDR5 from Kingston. This is the Fury Beast pack. It's 5600 mega transfers, which some of you might be thinking, hey, this is a really big, expensive build. Yes, you're absolutely right. And we could have gone much faster for our RAM sticks, but what we need for our productivity side of things is stability. So we've gone with 5600 because it's going to be rock solid stable. And this big old thing is the Be Quiet 1500 watt platinum power supply. It's the straight power 12. So that's our main components of the PC. We'll talk a little bit more about the rest of the components as we go, but let me give you a little rundown of what else we've got today. We are building in the Crow wall mounted chassis. When you see it up on the wall, it's going to blow you away. In terms of the water cooling, we are going full hardline water cooled. Part of the Crow chassis is that we have two D5 pumps. It has two distro plates, one for each side of the build. We then have two 360 Black Ice Nemesis radiators. For our GPU, we have the EK-Quantum Vector water block. As you saw at the beginning of the video, we've got about 1 million fittings from Alphacool, and we've got 6 120 RGB fans from Be Quiet. They're the Be Quiet light wings. So I think that's everything. Let's get to building. This is what I'm most excited about in this build. This is our case, or should I say chassis? Wall chassis? Wall mount? I'm not sure what exactly you call it. This is by Creative Solutions for Gamers, and it's called the Crow. Now, when I was researching into wall mounted chassis, I came across this. I didn't know about it before, and the moment I saw this, I knew that this was the chassis we needed to build in for this incredible PC. When you see it, it's going to blow you away. As you can see, we've got space for our two radiators here. Fans will go on top. We've got one pump, two pumps here. Our motherboard will be mounted up the top, and the graphics card will be mounted here, and then in between the two pumps will be our power supply. We'll then have a elevated glass front to protect everything. It's going to look amazing. What do you think about our case, Jem?
To be honest, at the moment, it doesn't really look like a case to me. It looks like just a little black piece of plastic.
I hear what you're saying. It's a little bit abstract, isn't it? So this thing is going to mount on the wall, and then all of our components will mount to this thing, this chassis, and the whole PC will kind of exist suspended, attached to this plate on the wall.
And then you're going to have like a glass front.
And then there'll be some pillars which come up like this to give us a bit of space, and then a big glass front goes across the front here.
Okay, so you just add things onto that base.
That's right, yeah. So there's lots of different mounting holes for everything here. Our pumps, our radiators, our GPU, our CPU, all of the different components will all fit attached to this chassis that then attaches to the wall. So what we have here are all of our accessories and fittings for the Crow, which is our chassis. So that includes our GPU holder, the wall distances, the motherboard distances, the glass distances, the GPU bracket, the button and button housing, the hard drive brackets, the PSU shrouds, the SSD brackets, and the additional bag and screws. So I hope this is clear to everybody. So I've never built in this chassis before, but I'm really excited to build this PC in something different than a regular case. Don't get me wrong, most regular cases I love. As far as the PC components go, the case is probably the most interesting part for me. I love it. I'm a case nut. I'm fanatical for cases. So when I saw this, I was just so excited. And I think it's going to be a really interesting build. Now we get the chassis faceplate the wrong way round, and we'll install the wall mount holders. So this will hold it slightly away from the wall. And these things, as you can see, are super interesting. And these are machined. These are like CNC machined. They're really, really well built. They're so lovely. Really like this. And the build quality just seems so fantastic. Everything is just nicely machined and feels really, really good in your hand. I like that a lot. So I've offered up the wall mounts to the rear of the chassis now so that we can screw these in and attach them to the chassis. I am so impressed by how well machined these pieces are. You can see here that, again, this is a CNC machined piece of, I guess, aluminium. It's so nice. It's really beautiful. Here we're going to build the PSU shroud. So we take these two pieces and we attach the top piece of this PSU shroud. So here we have our PSU shroud right here. Very nice. So now I'm just going to offer up the PSU to make sure that I've got the right mounting holes on the bracket here. So what I'll do is just put this in place and then we can see where we need to mount. And yes, we need to put it in the middle holes here. That's great. Okay, let's put this aside. We'll get these mounted into the mid holes. Next step will be the power button. We've got three main parts. Okay, so we're just going to offer up the switch to the side here. Here we have a finished case. Honestly, this is absolutely stunning. I can't tell you how good the quality of this chassis is. Everything is machined so accurately, everything is reassuringly heavy, and everything is so wonderfully designed. It's absolutely beautiful, and I would recommend that anybody who wants to build a wall-mounted chassis. I did a lot of research when I was looking into this for our customer, and honestly, this was the only one that didn't give me concerns about putting a heavy PC on the wall with it. So yeah, this is really, really nice. I highly recommend it. Make sure you have a look at creative solutions for gamers. This is the Crow. They also have another simpler version called the Tower of Doom, which only uses one pump and one distro block and one radiator. So that will turn out to be a much cheaper build, but I'm very happy with this. Very happy indeed. Now we're going to attach the accessories to the Crow. So we've got the Pionion distro block, left and right. We also then have the Spectre pump top. So what happens is we have some D5 pumps that just sit behind the pump block, behind the chassis, and then the pump top front you'll be able to see because it's see-through. And then we have two of those, and we'll mount these to the chassis the same way that we've mounted all of the apparatus for mounting the PC stuff. Okay, so let's get cracking. We've got these two brackets here, and we mount these top and bottom for each of the pinions, so that we have the ability to be able to mount them to our chassis. Really nicely packaged. It's in a beautiful felt bag. It's really, no expense has been spared here. Let me show you these. Really, really nice. Very happy with these, very happy indeed. Now you don't want to over tighten these because when you're using acrylic, it does have a stress point that you don't want to over torque. If you over torqued it massively, you could actually shatter it. Really, really lovely. So again, just don't torque these too hard. They need to be flush, but not really, really strongly done up. Just finger tight, or just slightly above finger tight. So that's our two distro blocks. They look great. I'm so thrilled. This is a beautiful case. I think I'm gonna have to get one of these for the Gamertech. I'm gonna put it right up here behind me. It's gonna look amazing. Next, we've got the Spectre tops for the water pumps. So let's have a little look at these. Again, very, very nicely presented with a beautiful soft felt bag. Really, really nice CSFG, really nice. The aluminium base is already in place. Thank you very much for doing that for us. Got a rubber gasket in there, which is already seated. And obviously we need our D5 pump. These are the Alphacool VPP655 PWM. So we've got two of these. This case is so lovely. Oh my gosh. Here we have one pump top with the D5 pump installed. This looks great. I'm looking at this now and all I can think is I don't want to give it to the customer. So that's our two pump tops installed with our pumps. Crucial part here, making sure that the wires go through the aluminium housing. So before you install the pump top in, and probably the most crucial part is making sure that you've got your rubber O-ring installed correctly in there. Now you just want to check both of those just to make sure you haven't forgotten to install them, because you could have a very bad time with water leaking if you do not put those in. So now let's get these pump tops onto the chassis. You have now successfully assembled the Crow. Applause. Okay, well this is it. The case is done. What do you think, everyone? I think this is absolutely stunning. I've probably said it about 20 times already on this video. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous and beautiful and so well made, and I love it. I love it so much. I'm definitely going to get one as soon as possible. It's just absolutely stunning. So all of the next steps are mounting it to the wall and then mounting the glass panel. So we are done now with the case, or rather we're done with the case build. So now we need to take all of the components of the PC and put them onto the case so that we're ready to wall mount this. First we have our motherboard all ready to go. RAM and M.2s, SSDs installed. We've got our brackets for the motherboard here, so we should just be able to offer this up and be ready to go. Our ASROCK motherboard comes with, and I don't know if you can see that, an ASROCK keycap. That's awesome. Love that. Usually 9 motherboard screws, so we'll just make sure we count those as we go. Oh god, that's a lot heavier now. It's got the power supply on it. I'm not sure how much that weighs, but it's not light, that's for sure. If you are getting one of these chassis, if you are getting this chassis, I would suggest that the wall you're attaching it to be capable of holding about 50 kilos to be sure. I think fully loaded with water and all of the distro blocks and everything that's going to go on here, including the toughened glass at the front, it's going to be about 35 to 40 kilos. So my suggestion is 50 kilos just to be safe. So here we have our 360 Black Ice Nemesis radiator. These I use these in my main rig. I've got the very, very thick versions in here. These ones aren't so thick. These are about an inch, but we don't need masses and masses of cooling here because the Ryzen 7950X3D is actually really, really efficient on power. And so is the video card that we've got. So we don't need tons and tons and tons of radiator space. 2 of these will be just fine. We've also got our fans, 3 Be Quiet Silent Rings fans, and they should complement the look of our build as well. Thank you again to my lovely camera assistant off screen, Jem, who is not only operating the camera, but also clearing up all of my rubbish here. So I'm gonna say thanks to Jem later by buying her dinner. This is quite tricky.
So how do you know all of those components are going to fit on that case? Like those cut out holes, are they just a standard size?
Yeah, so some things are just always standard sizes. So for instance, a power supply will always have the same types of mount, the same sized mount to fit to a bracket. These are obviously built for the case. The radiators are standard sizing, but they come in different sizes. So you can get a 120 radiator, a 240 radiator, or a 360 radiator. This is built for a 360. So for any 360 radiator, all of the fixings will be standardized. When it comes to the motherboard, you've got different sizes of motherboard. This is an ATX motherboard, and this chassis is sized for an ATX motherboard. Now you can get smaller motherboards, ones that go to about here, and then down, and then about here. So these will fit into your smaller builds. Got a small PC in the front room that's this big. So that would be too small for this. And when you've got an ATX motherboard, all of the fixings are standardized. So every ATX board will fit on here. But an ITX, which is smaller, won't fit, and an EATX, which is bigger, won't fit.
So why would you want a bigger motherboard even?
So a bigger motherboard will give you more space to put more features and more connectivity and more I/O or input-output onto your motherboard. So for instance, if you've got an EATX board that comes down here and is kind of like this big, then you'll have room for maybe 8 channels, 8 slots of RAM, rather than just the 4. You'll have room for 3 or 4 PCI slots, whereas we've just got 2 here. So a bigger board just allows for more connectivity and input-output of the components. Whereas a smaller one, well, the smaller, you can see this is the PCI slot here. An ITX board, which is the smallest, will only be basically this size. It will cut the whole bottom bit off under this bit here.
Okay, cool.
That make sense? Oh, great. Thanks, Jem. Another great question. All right, we have every major component now attached to our chassis. And I don't know about you, but I think it looks amazing. What do you think, Jem?
Yeah, actually it looks alright.
Yeah? So does it look a bit, does it make a bit more sense now it's all attached?
Yeah. I think a little bit more sense.
A little bit more sense.
It's more like a computer.
I'm so excited for the next stage, which is all of the water cooling. So we're going to put this aside for the moment, and we're going to look at all of our water cooling components, and then we're going to bring this back in and start measuring up our runs for our tubes. So our tubes are going to, I can't really see this here, but our tubes, so we've got pump number 1, we're going to go up here to distribution block, up here, and then to here, and then here, and then here, and back down here, and then up into the CPU, and then down into the GPU, and then back up, back over here to this distribution block, and then round through that radiator, back up through this distribution block, and then back up here to our CPU, and then from here, right back up here to our distribution block, creating a closed loop. Let's get ready to bend some pipes. Now it's time to fit the water block onto the GPU. We have our RX 7900 XTX. We have our EK-Quantum Vector water block. Let's put them together. First thing we need to do is to tear apart the GPU. You usually have to remove the back plate first, so let's start looking at this. Okay, there's our back plate. We should have all of the screws undone. Let's just gently remove it. Okay, there we go. This thing we no longer need. Thank you very much. And this is our GPU. That's a heavy boy. Let's have a look at this block, shall we? Yeah, I like that. I'm not sure how good the paste is on this unit, so I'm just going to repaste it with something that I know is decent. Thermal pad for water block. Now these thermal pads should line up like so. We need to cut them, but roughly we're looking at covering those parts all around here. So those are all our thermal pads. Now all we have to do is fit these, and then we can get our GPU back onto the block, or onto the block for the first time. Now you don't have to get this super exact because they are malleable or repliable or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's not a one and done. You don't have to get it exactly right the first time. You can just pull it back off the metal and then reapply it, as I'll show you here. So I've got that slightly wonky, so we'll just put it back. You also need to make sure that it is properly applied, because what you don't want is a raised surface so that you're bringing up the height of the transfer pad too much, because then otherwise you might not get a proper seating position for the GPU, and it might not be contacting properly. It's not that difficult to do, and I would say that with a steady hand anyone could do this. The most important one is the one here down on the side. Again, you have to make sure that you don't get it too close to the side so that you're raised up higher than you need to be. If you can get that one right, the others are easy. So now we'll just do a little offer up. So just check all the mounting screws. What we need to do here is actually lift the plate up, if that makes sense. So just going to lift it into the air. So now we're going to attach the GPU. Carefully put it back so that all of the screws are in line with the holes. Try and put these on with even pressure around the block, making sure that none of them are tightened too much. And let's attach the back plate. And there we have one installed water block. I just attached the GPU and the GPU block to the chassis. Unfortunately, I did not have my mic plugged in while I was doing it, so don't get to see that segment. Terribly sorry, but it wasn't particularly interesting. It was just me fiddling and faffing with this PCI riser to get it to fit underneath the GPU and to make it all look good. It does look good, it does fit, we're looking great, and I'm very happy with how it looks. So now we're going to move on to getting our fittings in for the water cooling, the custom loop, and then we're going to bend some tubes. Here's our compression fitting from a company called Barrow, very high quality fittings. So we've got the main fitting here, this is the collar, and then this goes in here. Well, the O-ring, well, one's a spare, so the O-ring goes into the collar, and then the tube goes into the fitting, and then we put the collar on over the top. let's just unbox all of those. There's about 29 more to go. Now let's get all of these fittings into all of the ports, and then let's start sizing up and figuring out what our loop is going to look like. Need to make sure they're in securely, but not over tightened, especially on the acrylic parts here, because again, acrylic is very strong, but it has a point up to which it can torque, and you don't really want to put it past that because it can crack. Just finger tightening, quite hard finger tightening is typically just enough. So let's continue putting in these fittings, and we can start bending some tubes. Well, actually, we'll probably plan out the loop first. I've got an idea in my head. I need to properly plan it. Wondering if these pumps down here, those are going to be the right way round for what we want to do, but we will figure it out. Quite a lot of fittings for this build, as it's going to be a very long and complex loop. So now I'm just going to make sure that every one of them is good and tight. This is a very important step for water cooling. You never want to put water in your loop if you're not 100% sure that, see, this one was just very slightly loose. You're not 100% sure that all the fittings and everything in your loop is secure and tight. We may have to pause here a little bit because of, let me show you the issue I've got here. So under here there is a hole, so we're going to have to come outwards like so to a very, I guess, quite tight angle to get into this port here, because the GPU is too long. We'll probably pause there. You won't notice a pause. I'll just edit it right in, and if by magic the next time you see me we'll have the correct fittings so that it avoids the top of the GPU here. Hi everyone, it's a couple of days in the future. A few things have happened. We've basically fixed the issue that we had with the GPU overhanging one of the ports. Two 90-degree angles, a male to female and then a male to female, and then the compression fitting there. Now, I really wanted to go with an offset fitting, which would just be a bit neater and wouldn't put so many, more right angles into the flow of the liquid, but it wouldn't fit underneath the GPU. This is really the only thing I can do. The second thing is I have COVID and I am really unwell. I ache all over, but I need to get this done because I'm on a deadline for the customer. So if it looks like I'm sweating a lot, if it looks like I'm uncomfortable, I can assure you I am. But the show must go on, as they say. What we're going to do now is run the cabling, so the PSU cabling and the other cables to the fans and such, in preparation for the final part, which will be bending the tubes for the hardline water cooling. Not looking forward to this. I might have to take some breaks, but I'm sure we'll be okay. This is our first PCI cable for the graphics card. SATA cables that we don't need. This is the first CPU cable. We just need one other CPU cable. Here's our motherboard, 24 pin, second VGA. I'm not thinking straight today. COVID brain is a real thing. Let's get all our cables attached, and then the cables need to go round the back, and then they can come up through the various holes that we have, like this one here to come from the motherboard. And then we should have one, yes, we have one here as well for the CPU. Different size sockets at each end, so you can't get this wrong. Now is the tricky part. We need to get all of our cables through here, and some of them are very solid, shall we say. I don't want to put anything near the acrylic parts that we have for the Crow, the chassis, because they can scratch. No! No, disaster! Oh god. Who am I, Linus? Stop dropping things. This is me on my most off of off days. Let's hope that we can just get through this. So I'm just going to have a look at the RGB hubs that we've got. Now, these two came with the fans, which are the Be Quiet 120mm RGB fans. Let's have a quick look at these and see what they are exactly. These are just for the LEDs. Okay, fine. And I also picked up this. It is a multi-Bayo 5V 3-pin RGB something gaming PC desktop. Who knows what we're going to get when you buy fun things from AliExpress, huh? So what we've got here is 10-way RGB. Yeah, we don't need this for this build. We'll just use the one we've got. We've only got 6 fans and we can just use these. We're going to stick with one of the ARGB hubs from Be Quiet. I'm still super excited. Hello, it's Tarl here, from the future, actually. It's about 6 months later when I'm finally getting around to editing this video. As I'm going through the video and realising that my health and my demeanour is in rapid decline, I think it's at this point I have decided to switch off the video and to apologise and say the rest of it just didn't get captured. You don't want to see how I looked in the next part of the video. It was terrible. I was so ill. I was coughing, spluttering, sweating, and worse. So I think it's for the best when I say we'll skip over that part and move right to where we have got a great final product. The customers had the PC installed for about 6 months. They're very happy. They've been using it every day. It looks amazing and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And if you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's a long video and I think towards the end the quality went down quite a lot. But I had a fun time with the build and hopefully you had a fun time watching. So thanks again. Okay, back to you, past Tarl. Okay, we're all finished. So thanks very much for joining us for this video. Really incredible build. I'm so pleased with the way this has turned out and I'm so proud. This is my first time doing a hardline water build. I used acrylic tubes for the first time and I have to say I'm really pleased with the results. It took a little bit of time to get my head around things, but I think it went okay in the end. I'm sure you can be the judge of that. So let me just talk you through the build again. The chassis, which is the Crow from CSFG. We then have, and by the way, the chassis is absolutely wonderful. I really urge anyone that is interested in a wall-mounted PC to go out and take a look at the Crow. I believe the website is csfg.io, but I'll put all the details for all of the components with links in the description down below. The Crow is an absolute pleasure. It's built so well. It's all machined aluminium parts. It's just lovely. Then the components, we have the CPU is the 7950X3D. So the reason why we chose this particular CPU is because it's going to be doing gaming, but it is also going to be used for productivity workloads such as streaming, editing, rendering, and just it's going to be a jack of all trades. So we didn't go for the 7950, which is perhaps what you would go for just productivity, and we didn't go for the 7800, X3D, which is what you would probably go for if you're just gaming. So the 7950 X3D is a really good, I say jack of all trades, but that doesn't mean that it can't do any of it well. It does everything really well. We went with the RX 7900 XTX, and you can see it's down here in its water block from EK, which is really, really good looking. I like that a lot. We then have the X670 Steel Legend from ASROCK. Got 64 gigabytes of RAM from Kingston. We have the Be Quiet 1500 watt platinum power supply. We've got two 2 terabyte SSDs by Adata. In terms of the water cooling, we've got Alphacool D5 pumps, and those are behind these beautiful looking pump tops here. We have a bunch of Barrow fittings. They're just the compression fittings for hardline tubes. We've got the Be Quiet Light Wings 120mm fans, which I think look really nice on this chassis with the black and red scheme that we've gone with. And of course the extras for the Crow chassis, which are the pump tops that I talked about. And that's it. I'm very proud of this. I'm about to pack it all up and take it to our customer, who I hope is going to be very, very happy with their PC. And I've had a great time building it. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you tuning in. As per usual, please look at all the stuff in the doobly what's it below. There'll be some links and some things for you to check out there. As usual, I'm Tarl. This has been a Gamertech build. Please check out our new website at gamertech.org, where we're giving away free £150 Razer mice with every PC. We've got free delivery and a really, really good 3-year warranty, including parts, up to 5-year warranty for all of our PCs. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next build. Bye bye.